Now last week, just as the boys had finished braving the shallows, they lost use of their propeller about 5k upriver from Cobb Dogler, and that's when the phone calls began.
Upon arriving at Cobb Dogler, the people at the caravan park came to our aid quickly, offering us extra tools, very comfortable accommodation, and even a feed of Chinese later in the evening. Our cameraman Dean has a background in motor mechanics, which is just as well because he's a shocking camera operator and an even worse cook. His hunch was that with the constant rubbing on snags and sand upstream earlier in the day, it had caused the rubber centre in the prop to wear and spin out. We located a centre from Yorkie's Marine back at Murray Bridge and had our support vehicle bring it up at first light the next morning. The next problem was fitting it. The only locals that could help us out were at Berry, where we had just come from, and so it seemed a road trip back to Berry was unavoidable. The people at Berry Marine repressed the prop centre for us while we waited, but once fixed, we wanted to get going immediately, so needed the rubber to bond instantly. So they used a special brew of soap suds in preference to grease, but you'll have to speak to them to get the secret recipe. With the job done and the Murray mission back in our sights, we were off again to the river. Whilst I fitted the repressed prop, we were met by Rosemary, the Cobb Dogler Lord Mayor, and also the local tour guide, and definitely a Cobb Dogler celebrity. She took Dean down to the historical Humprey pump for a quick inspection of a bygone era.
This is the Cobb Dogler Irrigation and Steam Museum, and it's the home of the Humprey pumps. They are unique because these are the only two in the southern hemisphere, and the one on the right is the only one in the world that still operates today. They were designed by a gas engineer by the name of Herbert Albert Humprey. They really are quite unique, quite fascinating. When they chose these pumps, it was because they could pump from very high or very low river. It works on a 4-stroke cycle like a diesel engine, and it pumps 1.3 million gallons of water an hour.
With the prop now back on, it was time to leave the very welcoming Cobb Dogler Caravan Park and off to explore Chambers Creek. Chambers Creek was named after John and James Chambers, who owned most of the riverland to the north of Kingston. It leaves the Murray at Thirk Island and weaves its way about 6 kilometres into Lake Bonney.
During the Second World War, we had an internment camp at Loveday, and it was built to house Japanese, Italians and German internees. And there were nearly 5,500 internees there. One of the men escaped from a work gag. He was working outside the perimeter of the camp, and he escaped, and they found him floating in the creek. He tried to swim the creek and drowned.
The creek is quite navigable by small to medium craft, but even the locals have to revert to the manual system on occasion.
So you obviously do have to stick pretty close to the channel, Bruce?
Yes, you really do.
Yeah.
At the entrance to Lake Bonney is the Morgan Road Bridge. Lake Bonney is 9 kilometres long and 6 kilometres wide, and is a fantastic holiday destination in the warmer months. The lake was named after Charles Bonney, who discovered it in the early 1800s on the first Adelaide to Sydney overland trek. I remember playing on these shores each Easter as a child for many, many years. The next morning would see us on our way to Waikerie. As you enter Waikerie, you are met by towering cliffs and a now seemingly normal entourage of bird life, with well-groomed lawn areas along the banks. Waikerie was established in the 1860s and then settled in 1910 by 130-odd settlers. Today the town has over 4,000 people living in it and is a fabulous tourist destination. Once again, the Houseboat Hires Association have representatives here who were only too happy to give us the tour.
Well, you see a lot of cliffs as we go alongside here now. Quite a few cliffs all the way up, river and downriver. Wide, nice wide river, plenty of room to manoeuvre, plenty of parking spots.
The standard of these craft is magnificent, and Dean and I were starting to feel the effects of being locked in a very small cabin with each other every night. Every few years, the colourful River Ramble sets out at Goolwa and ends its journey on the lawns here at Waikerie. This is a sight to behold and happens again here next April.